Hello, I'm Floyd.
I'm Chloe.
I'm Jamie.
Our group is engagement. So, engagement is the ability to pay attention and practice diligence. The habit of mind engagement is cultivated at the time where authors are inspired to compare and contrast peer ideas, explore updated ideas, and compare them with earlier ones, and use new information along with information you've already known and incorporating it into your writing. So, our audience for our essay was college students in intro level writing courses.
Our direct purpose for our direct purpose for this project and essay in general was to educate people on the importance of our habit of mind, which is engagement, obviously, and how you can use engagement to become successful in these intro level and upper level college English classes.
So, the way that we arranged our paper was we sectioned it off into groups based on the paragraph's topic. So, we started off with a background paragraph, which just stated engagement background, like a paraphrase of how the frameworks for success in post secondary writing explains engagement and how we view engagement. And then we go into an introductory paragraph, which is essentially the same thing as a background, but more in depth with how you can use engagement in not only classroom settings, but like writing styles and just how you can use engagement in other habits of mind to your advantage.
Pretty much when it comes to the conventions part of our essay and habit of mind, pretty much the basis of being engaged is using multiple conventions, which pretty much comes down to the fact that you have to use the standard level of, how do I say, criteria in order to succeed. Now, you have to be engaged to do such things because you can't sit in a college level writing class and write high school level work. And also goes the same thing depending on your audience. You also can't use language and writing skills that goes above your audience as well. So you have to be engaged to practice that.
There were a few requirements that our teacher gave us. Specifically, there was a word count. We needed to reach 2,000 words for a three-person group. We also needed a strong thesis, which was kind of interesting how we built that. She had us make a weak thesis, an average thesis, and then a strong thesis, and we kind of collaborated together and like used different methods with those, and we're like we knocked out, okay, well, we can't have a weak thesis, and we went about it that way.
Pretty much with that, we learned specifically what a weak thesis is and a strong thesis, along with the working thesis, so we can actually get what we needed to get in order to hopefully succeed during this project. And pretty much our argument for why engagement throughout the essay is important, or is the most important out of all 8 habits of mind, is that we really do believe that engagement is the baseline habit of mind. Like, you have to be engaged to be able to practice openness, responsibility, curiosity, and or metacognition or any other habit of mind. So if you can succeed with being engaged, you can very well easily practice all the other 8 habits of mind.
Yeah, we built our argument more on like comparing and contrasting it with the other habits of mind instead of just being like, okay, engagement's important, you need to know. Like, we showed specifically with responsibility and openness how they compared, but also how, like he said, like in order to become responsible or to become open, you need to engage not only like with others, but like you need to be engaged in your work. You need to like do your research. You need to, take thoughts that you've already had, but also like thoughts that you didn't really think about or stuff like that.
Yeah, and so we all had our own little specialty or like special input we put into this project and essay. I mean, more specifically though, like we all did our fair share of work, but we each had our own little special part, I guess you could say, we all played. Me specifically, I did a lot of work in the revisions and editing of the essay. I worked a lot on those comments during the peer review, and I also spent a lot of time in the writing center. Not because we were forced to do it the first time in order to, how do I say, because we had to pretty much. But we actually did go back to the writing center and did try to do a lot of help. I spent a lot of time organizing that with the tutors at the writing center. Yeah.
My kind of like special part was outlining the paper, kind of, so like brainstorming the ideas, and I looked up background research and like the definition of engagement that we got to paraphrase, and finding quotes from the interview, like the first interview with the guy at the writing center, and yeah, just taking notes on that interview and everything.
My main part, I guess you could say, was student examples. We were required to go in to the students' past work and see basically how they portrayed our habit of mind. So we all worked on it. We all worked revising it and just seeing how they showed engagement in their work. And then also Janie and I created a rough draft for our essay, which we later on went and added stuff in. We had revision sessions that we just sat down and we talked about how we could strengthen our paper.
Yeah, and speaking of revisions, that was a pretty essential part of the project and the essay itself, because I'm not going to lie, some of the feedback we got from our adjacent groups actually did help us out a lot. And specifically, it was all the minor things we skipped over. Like, we didn't get the alignment right, no page numbers, font, stuff like that. But one of the big points was we forgot to do transition sentences, which definitely helped us out a lot. Because at this point in time, we really had problems filling the word count, as I should say, and just pretty much putting words on paper. So that actually helped out a lot. And and if we were able to go back and have more time to do this, I would definitely say we would go back to the writing center one more time, because they looked at our draft and they just kind of helped us edit our draft, but they've yet to see what we were able to go back and do to that. So, I mean, they just gave us the edits, and I would have really liked to see what they thought about what we did with those edits.
Yeah. So we think that we adequately explained our badge when we had to present it to the classroom. It didn't go quite as we planned. We essentially thought that we were going to go in to the other students' work and figure out how they showed engagement, but after talking with our professor and our classmates, we revised that, and we thought it would be better if they showed us how they thought that they showed engagement in their writings, just because engagement can be a number of different things. So it wouldn't be fair if we just were like, this is what we're looking for, because maybe they had that, but that wasn't their strong suit in engagement. It gives them a chance to kind of show us how they thought that they improved their writing and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And another thing we took from that was the criteria in order for our fellow classmates to earn our badge. We did not expect the criteria. We didn't think about the criteria you guys gave us. Pretty much what we wanted to do was to look at engagement, was to see if people could write a basic essay, because that's what we thought was engagement was. Like, if you were engaged, you would be able to get the basic principles of an essay down, which include introduction, conclusion, flow, grammar, spelling, things of that nature. But we decided it was a good idea to go with the revisions of the essay, because we realized that when it comes to being engaged, it's not about whether or not you can basically put words on paper correctly in the correct format. It's whether or not you could take work you already have use revisions and improvement. That's what we decided the real measure of engagement was.
Yeah, like actually applying it to your work, not just saying, okay, I heard your criticism and then not change anything. We all thought that different scaffolding assignments were useful. Personally, I thought that the summary assignment where we had to go and summarize the framework for success was my most useful assignment, just because previously it changed the way I thought of a summary, and it kind of gave me different insight into ways that I could summarize things without going on in too much detail, but hitting the main points.
I thought that the conclusion was kind of yeah, the conclusion. It was for the scaffolding assignment, I liked working with the conclusion because we all felt like it was kind of redundant, like we were saying the same things over. And so we went to the writing center and talked to the same guy that we interviewed, and he told us that like it did kind of need to be like redundant because you're like summarizing kind of the whole thing in that conclusion, you know. And but you just have to say it in new ways to where it's like not boring for the audience.
And what particularly helped us, I believe, or helped me and the group as well, in writing this essay and doing this project through the scaffolding assignments was one being the thesis. It really did help us actually teach us what a thesis was, because I didn't really have too much experience doing that, and neither did my partners as well. Along with that, I also think that the interview assignment helped us a lot as well, because excuse me, because it really taught us how other people, like specifically the person at the writing center, viewed what engagement was, because many people have very different broad terms of engagement. So that definitely helped us a lot.
So the habit of mind I feel like I worked with most during this assignment was flexibility, just because usually when I'm doing a writing assignment, I just go and I just do a rough draft and then a final draft. There's not really much of a process going on, but for this assignment, we had many different little components that we brought into the essay, and also working in a group is a lot different, just because they have different opinions and ways to do it, and you can't just be like, no, we're just going to do it my way, because you have to be open and flexible to people's creative processing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as far as other habits of mind go, I will definitely say openness. It definitely helped, or I would definitely say I practiced openness a lot more than I thought I would, because as circling back around, many different people have different definitions of engagement, because they can be a very broad definition. It can be interpreted in many different ways. So we had to go out and we had to look at what other people thought engagement was, and that really helped us put on paper how to be engaged itself.
The habit of mind that I feel like I really used was responsibility, because me and Chloe had never used Google Documents before, so we kind of like, it was interesting to see everything close together, like everything on the same website, and then it just made everything a lot easier to keep up with. And we had to make sure everything was done on time, so the final draft would be finished on time. So yeah, I think that's how responsibility helped there.
And that summarizes our Habit of Mind engagement project. Thank you for watching.